Previously on part 1, we see Toya and the gang burn down the pervert slime castle and rejects the offer to become a nobility from the king, but receive a huge castle instead. The story continues with the king sends some workers to help out with the house. They are led by the brother of Lame. How original. The steward, alongside Lapis, another woman, Cecile, and 2 men for security. Later on, the Duke visits Toya in his house again. Even he jokes about giving his daughter to Toya, but Toya brushes it off. He doesn't know how serious the man is. The Duke, however, wasn't there for this reason. He tells Toya that since the kingdoms were going to form an alliance, the kings would soon have to meet. This required them to travel, which brought about further risks, so he wants Toya to go to Mizmead. Once he had been there, he could help the kings meet anytime they wanted with the help of his gate spell. Toya gladly accepts the mission and heads to Mizmead with his friends, the royal emissaries and Olga the ambassador. After crossing the border into Mizmead, Toya can't help but notice that they're being followed by someone, but they decide not to go too much into it. They make their way to the capital and plan to travel through Eld village to get there. On their way, they suddenly notice a black dragon heading straight for the village. Their carriages are too slow, and by the time they reach the village, the dragon had already managed to destroy most of it. Toya and his group lure the dragon away and engage it in battle. Lindsay slices its wings and Yae slices one of its eyes. Its skin is too hard and Taipa's weapon breaks, but the dragon is attacked by someone from the shadows before it can regain its strength. Lindsay then makes a huge ice block, which Toya models into a lens and uses his light magic to pierce the dragon's skin right through, killing it. Soon another dragon appears who claims to be their king. He apologizes to Toya for his fellow dragon's arrogance and leaves. The next day, the group finally reaches the Mizmead capital and the royal palace, which is an exact copy of India's Taj Mahal. Toya and the others are greeted by their king, who is a half-human and half-tiger. He tells them that he'll make the decision about the alliance soon, and invites them to live in his castle until then. What a gentleman. He then proceeds to challenge Toya to a single combat. What an animal. The two are to spar until one wins, but no attack magic is to be used. The king at first is instantly defeated because of a simple slip magic that makes him fumble, but the second time around he gives a tough fight to Toya. The king's null magic excel makes him very quick, giving him the upper hand, but Toya is soon able to copy this magic and beats the king in his own game. That night in the Mizmead Palace, Toya finds himself unable to sleep, so he roams the corridors of the palace and suddenly encounters a weird-looking teddy bear walking around the corridors as well. The teddy bear gestures to Toya to follow him and guides him to an empty room. There, Toya meets with the fairy queen, Lean, who, in hopes to impress the dragon slayer, shows him her power. The teddy bear from earlier was an inanimate object, but she used her magic to coat it such that it looked alive. She also exhibits it on a chair. Toya is astounded and quickly does it himself, wondering what he could do with all this. This power was almost like modern-day coding. The fairy queen offers him to be her apprentice, but Toya runs away before she could offer anything else, or worse, enchant him. Next day, Toya goes to a nearby forest with his friends Lindsay and Yumine. There he takes the dragon's teeth he had received from the villagers and asks Lindsay to slice it into 4 pieces. Then with the help of his modeling spell, he creates a gun out of the pieces of dragon's teeth. With the help of the program spell that he had learned yesterday, he programs the gun such that it can shift between a gun mode and a sword mode. Toya is generous enough to even gift his friends 1 gun each. Their adventure in Mizmead has finally come to an end. After so many adventures, Toya decides that he is too mentally and physically strained to carry on, so they decide to take a few days rest. The rest of the days are wasted in a calm, playful way. One evening, however, it gets a visitor. It's the fairy queen, Lean. She had come to give him some information about the regenerating monster they had battled ages ago. Apparently, she and her party had battled with a similar creature a few days ago as well. She tells him that these creatures are called phrases, which were rumored to have almost destroyed the world ages ago. She tells him that to further investigate this matter, they must head to Ishan and study the ruins there. She wants to leave now and get there as soon as possible. However, since Toya has never been to Ishan, he doesn't know how to use a gate to that place. Lean tells him about a spell called Recall, which could be used to study the memory of someone and then use that memory to create a gate. Since Yae was from Ishan, Toya uses the recall on her to see the location of her village, Oida, and they all head there. Yae's village is very similar to Japan from where Toya had arrived. and he can't seem to not see the similarities. Yai, however, notices that there is something off with the villagers. When the group reaches Yai's home, her mother notifies them that the neighboring Takeda clan had declared war on their village, and her father and brother had been stuck fighting them for some time now. Only one final fort remained between the village and the army of Takeda. The group quickly rushes to the aid of the army and finds that they were being heavily outnumbered by the Takeda forces. The soldiers that had survived claimed that the soldiers of Takeda didn't die even when they were killed, but when their masks were broken, they stopped moving. Toya uses his smartphone to locate the whole army of Takeda, who had surrounded them, and proceeds to destroy all of their masks all at once. The Lord, however, believes that this won't be over until the perpetrator is killed or captured. They had heard rumors that the actual Lord of Takeda clan was dead, and someone else named Kansuke was using the army. They couldn't find where the man was hiding and thus hadn't been able to stop the immortal army. Just then, a spy from Takeda's clan, Tsubaki, arrives with a letter confirming their suspicions. All of Takeda's generals were kept captive, while Kansuke used the army against them. She knew where the man was hiding and could lead them there. Toya and Lin decided to go there. They used the recall spell to locate the area and then the gate spell to get there. However, for some reason, they are teleported outside the stronghold by the gate spell. Lin realizes that they must go there by themselves, as there is a barrier protecting it from the use of the gate. She uses an invisibility spell on herself, Toya, and Tsubaki, and the three quickly go and rescue Takeda clan's general, Baba, and two other generals as well. Toya tries using the gate again, hoping that, now that they were inside, the barrier wouldn't work, but unfortunately it still holds, so they go and destroy the charm that held the barrier together. Finally, the gate works and they're taken directly to Kansuke. The man is witty enough and had been using the dead lord's body as his bodyguard. None of the generals can take up arms against their lord, so Toya simply shoots him. He was dead anyway, so the generals thankfully don't mind. Kansuke then makes a classic villain mistake and starts showing off his immortality jewel stuck in his eye. He boasts how he can never lose as long as he has that, and just like that, Toya uses the transfer magic to swipe the jewel away from the man. They all decide that it's best to destroy the eye. The man is then captured and peace returns to Oeda. Toya inquires about the ruins to General Baba, who tells him that he once went there, but now the location must be underwater because of global warming or something. Toya is forced to use the recall spell on Baba, which was quite awkward to be honest, and then uses Gate to go to the desired location. The place is a beautiful beach, so the whole gang decides to take it easy for a while and enjoy the beach and the sea. Toya even uses the gate spell to bring the Duke, the king, and all his house workers so that they can all enjoy the beach as well. As the others played volleyball and swam, Toya and Lin tried to get to the sunken ruins. Toya dived into the sea, but the ruins were too deep, and he didn't have enough breath to get that low in the ocean. Kohaku suggests that he summon one of his acquaintances to help him. Usually a summoning spell cannot summon a particular person, but with Kohaku's energy, Toya is able to summon the Sea Kings, Gen, a turtle, and a giant snake. They challenge Toya to a battle if he wishes to be their master. If he could survive battling them till sunset, he would be their master. Toya doesn't really have time for such shenanigans, and so he places a slip spell under them and then programs the ground to have a slip spell added in loop until he tells it to stop. It's not long before he wins and the two sign their contracts with him. They also shrink down to avoid being noticed by everyone. To be honest, they're quite cute. Toya names the turtle Sango and the snake Kokuyo. Now that he had the Sea Kings under his control, Toya was able to manipulate water. He could walk directly on the water floor and even breathe with ease. He walks to the location of the ruins and finds a magic seal. Upon releasing the magic seal, Toya is transported away. Toya wakes up in a strange-looking garden, and before him stood a strange-looking woman, who didn't wear anything under her waist. She tells him that her name is Francesca, and she was the guardian of this place. Toya doesn't care, he just wants her to put on some pants. The girl insists on him looking or touching her, but Toya resists and asks her to just have some decency. The girl finally agrees and puts on a skirt and formally introduces the palace as the Garden of Babylon, which was created 5,092 years ago by her creator, Regina Babylon. The girl is actually a humanoid robot kept to take care of the garden. She tells him that the professor was someone who could use all 6 elements and had created the seal for someone who could use all 6 elements like her. She had planned to hand over Francesca and the Guardian to that person, and now she was Toya's property. The whole ordeal is too much for Toya to handle. He didn't even want to come here. It was Lean's idea. He uses the gate spell to bring everyone to the garden. When they're all gathered together, Francesca tells them that there are many such floating Babylon islands all over the world, created by her creator, each with their own guardian. She then declares Toya to be her master and husband and kisses him before everyone to take his DNA and register him as the Lord of the Island. The other girls are jealous. They can't stand that their lover's being kissed by someone else, and in that moment, Lindsay takes a step of bravery and professes her love to Toya and kisses him as well. The incident clearly shocks Toya, who locks himself in his room. Yumine asks permission to enter and tells him that she's very angry that he let 2 women kiss him before her. After all, she was the one who was supposed to be married to him. She asks him to kiss her if he is to subdue the anger, and Toya does so. The girl was 12. Someone call the cops. Lindsay had heard all this as she'd been hiding in the room with Lean's invisibility spell. She tells Toya that she wants to be his wife and has no problem if he has multiple wives, as long as she's also one of them. Toya has no choice but to accept, and the 2 girls leave happily. Outside, however, his issues increase as Yai and LZ too confess that they love him and want to be his wives. The man is suffering from success at this point, but he just can't believe if it's real or not. So to clear up his mind and come up with a decision, he goes to the Garden of Babylon. There, Francesca gives him a USB-C charger port, and as soon as he connects it to his phone, he's called by Regina Babylon from 5,000 years in the past. She possessed a certain item that could let her see the future. Regina tells him that the phrase monster would soon arrive and destroy their world, but since she can see him, the world must have survived somehow, which meant that Toya was somehow involved with the removal of the phrases. Toya is more concerned about his future and the wife situation, but she tells him that it wouldn't be fun if she gave him the answers and cut the phone. Toya then goes to the one place where he could get answers. He uses the gate spell to go to none other than God. That shouldn't be possible, but I'm not going to argue with the logic. God hears his situation closely, then calls in an expert, the goddess of love. She tells him that he's using logic from his old world. Of course he can have 4 wives. Heck, he could have an Apache helicopter as a wife as well, if he wanted to. Toya returns determined after hearing the goddess and gives his answer to the 4 expectant women. He couldn't possibly marry them now, but he would marry all 4 of them eventually, if they were all okay with it. The girls agree without consulting further, declare themselves the fiancés of Toya. Outside, Lean and Francesca peek at them as they bicker, and Francesca mentions that Regina had seen the future Toya to have at least 9 wives. Damn, my man's gonna be living the dream. Or nightmare.